We are joined now by Dave Stoddard. He's the head football coach for the Stanton Mustangs, playing in the state championship coming up here against Sandy Creek. Coach, how are you this morning?
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, now, Coach, come on now. This isn't the funny guy that I was with this summer, man. It must be game time. How you feeling?
We're feeling pretty good. The preparation's going well. We just told the kids to be confident through that process still and just do what we do each day. It's going well.
Coach, as you I know the season's not over. You got one more left, but as you kind of look back on where you've come from the start of the season until now, what is the thing you've been most proud of in terms of how your team's gotten better throughout the season?
It's just the day-to-day. That's kind of our goal. We want to win each day, and that starts in the classroom, weight room, and then at practice. And they've been, focused throughout the season. We had a really tough non-district schedule, and then get into the district. We had one of the tougher districts in the state, and then just challenge, through each round of the playoffs. So just really credit the kids for staying focused and determined.
Coach, it's interesting because in a similar vein, and I kind of talked about this at the event this summer, you had the chore of, everybody thought this was where you'd be. You still have to go through the process of the day-to-day. How much of your focus has to do with, it seems like everybody in that building is on the same page?
Yeah, that's that's just what we're, what our foundation is. Winning each day. We couldn't think of, yes, it was our goal to get to Lincoln, but you can't think that far ahead. We had to focus on each team each week, and the kids have really bought into that, and they've had a lot of success. Our seniors over the last 4 years, and they've just done things the right way. So it really puts you in an opportunity to have success. But like I said, each week was such a challenge. We've seen so many different teams and so many talented players and great coaching that you really have to stay focused on the day-to-day.
Coach, obviously you got a tough one coming up here on Monday to try and finish this thing out. What are some of the challenges that you face with Sandy Creek?
Well, first of all, they're very well coached. Coach Kuta and his staff do an awesome job. Offensively, they can attack you in so many different ways. They're multiple formation, multiple scheme, whether it's gap scheme, power scheme, very multiple passing game that's going to attack all levels of your defense and play action as well. And then defensively, they're going to give you different looks. They got big physical lines up front on offense and defense, physical linebackers at the second level. And they've got a rotation of skill players, that they use very well. So it's just a very well-coached, talented football team.
Coach, I just remember some of the side conversations. We're talking about 3 front and, whether we want to set the edge. We're just going back. I'm talking 11, man. You're talking 8, and we're just
right.
we're doing football things. How much of that, because you seem to just love ball, right? These new, and I would call you guys innovative, right? That was kind of one of the things that drew me to you during the broadcast last year was very, very creative. How much of that has to do with just you're kind of a football junkie?
Yeah, you really enjoy the X's and O's and the concept and the scheme, and a lot of that depends each week on what the defense is giving us, how they're playing, different gaps or what their reads are. So we try to have an answer for everything. And I don't have a ton of hobbies. I think I watch film and watch football on the weekends. I got to pick up something else, but just really enjoy the X's and O's game planning. And also, being around the players is great.
2 full-time hobbies. Number 1, you got to keep your brother in line. And number 2, much like our producer over here, he's a Raiders fan. Are you going to be okay?
Keeping my, being first of all the Raider fan, being a part of the greatest sports organization, it's a great sign of intelligence there. And they're going to be back up, and my brother announced this year, so I had to kind of talk to him to not be making announcements during timeouts and stuff, so I could visit with the team. It was always a weather report or something. I think he mentioned the score of a soccer friendly during the game. So we've got to keep the box focused up there too.
Coach, we're looking forward to it, man. Give everybody my best, and hopefully I can see you out here this summer. Just save me some of that meat.
Absolutely. I truly appreciate it, and good luck to you as well Monday, too.
I appreciate it, Coach.
That is Dave Stoddard, head coach of the Stanton Mustangs. I was going to give him a compliment, say, I like these high schools with the Mustangs as the mascot, but then he went on that nonsense about the Raiders, so just let it slide on out. I would just I was vibing him a little bit, and then I'm like, well, I really don't trust his judgment if he thinks that the Raiders are the greatest organization in the history of sports, because I don't know what measure he'd been using that. I mean, maybe black eyeliner. Maybe they're the greatest at consuming black makeup in the history of the sport. I don't know.
Yeah. We need to have him on more.
He's a funny guy. It's going to be a classic matchup. This is two juggernauts.
They will be taking on Sandy Creek, who is coached by Andrew Kuta, who joins us now on the Hurrdat Hotline. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Good, Coach. Been looking forward to this one. It's been kind of penciled in as the collision course. You guys are looking forward to it after last year. How have you been able to keep your team dialed in, just taking it one at a time until you got the opportunity?
That's really been our mindset all year, is that we have a team goal that we're just going to go 1-0 each week, and that's our focus. And we really expand on that, and we talk about just taking it one day at a time and just focusing on us. I think with a lot of groups, that would be really challenging to do, to get them to just focus on the process and focus on the task at hand and just focus on what we need to be doing each and every day. Really fortunately for us, I think we have a group of senior leadership that made that possible for us this year, that they really did show up every day and just focus on the things that we need to do to be successful. And I give our senior class a lot of credit for that.
Coach, you haven't played a ton of close ball games this year, and obviously, you want to play your best, and the score ends up being what it is. But is there any part of you that's trying to help prepare these guys for what might be a closer matchup against Stanton?
We've been really fortunate this year to play some really good teams. We played some really quality teams. I think, off the top of my head, 5 out of our 8 regular season games were against playoff teams. A 6th one would have been a playoff team, but they weren't eligible in 8-man. But we've just been fortunate to play really well in those games and to execute at a pretty high level, not make a lot of mistakes, take care of the football. So we have played some really quality opponents. You are right. Most of them haven't finished with a score that was overly close. I think we've benefited a lot this year from having really competitive practices. We're really fortunate in the sense that I think a lot of our backups are really quality players, guys that have a bright future for us, guys that are good football players. That just, unfortunately for them, they're stuck behind some seniors that are also pretty good. So we have had some really competitive practices. We do a lot of situational work in practice where we're putting them in stressful situations, where we're, defensive situations, it's 3rd and 2, it's 4th and 1. Offensively, there's a minute left on the clock and we got to go 60 yards with 1 timeout. So we try to replicate those things, but there's really no replication for an actual game. I do feel like with the group that we have, with the games that we've had in the past, we returned almost all of our starters from last year.
Yeah.
So even though it hasn't been that way this year, they've been there and they've been a part of it.
Coach, one of the interesting things, and I get it when you got guys like Connor and Ethan, you rest a little easier, but we do NEBPreps every week and we kind of highlight the classes, so we pay attention all year. And I drive through Shelby Rising City on my way out to Central City, and that score a couple weeks ago kind of got my attention because it was a little bit of a grinder earlier in the season. You guys sent a clear message that, hey, this could potentially be a team of destiny. Was that the game? Did that outcome surprise you as you got ready to ramp up for the playoffs, that game went the way that it did, considering how it was played the first time?
It did a little bit. That was one of those games. We have a ton of respect for Shelby Rising City. We think they're really well coached. They are very physical. They're big. They play hard-nosed football. And they're a really good team. And I had them, in or around the top 5 the whole season, and I don't think that's going to change in my mind. That was just one of those games where everything kind of went right for us. That was the night that it was raining down here a lot. The field was really wet. And we ended with a lot of breaks that they didn't. The ball kind of bounced our way. We were able to force a few turnovers. We took care of the football and didn't have any turnovers. if you'd have told me before the game that it was going to be 46-0 at half, I wouldn't have believed you. But it was just one of those games where everything kind of went our way and really nothing went theirs.
I know you like to control doing what you can do, but these are two pretty creative minds that are going to go head to head. You like the fact that you guys can be versatile as well, given the fact that Stanton is pretty diverse as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be a fun matchup. We're really looking forward to the opportunity to share the field with those guys again. I have a ton of respect for Coach Stoddard. We communicate pretty regularly. He's served, ironically enough, as a bit of a mentor for me over the last year and a half.
He's a good man.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. I have a ton of respect for him. Coach Peter on the defensive side for them does a great job. They mix it up. They give different looks. They have different fronts. We do like the fact that we feel like we're going to be able to hopefully both run in, throw the football, and get it in different guys' hands. They do a lot of different things offensively in terms of blocking schemes and alignment. And so in no way am I calling them one-dimensional, but they're definitely a team that likes to run the football. They do it in a number of different ways. So you're going to see two kind of differing styles. But in both of those styles, yeah, there's a lot of versatility within it. It's not going to be the, lining up and running the same thing over and over again.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Best wishes, Coach.
Hey, awesome. Thanks, guys.
We are joined now by the head coach of Omaha Westside, Paul Limongi. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. Hey, this is going to sound crazy, but did you know it was our show you were talking to this time?
No, I did not.
It's awesome. I believe every word of that, too.
I do not. I wasn't sure.
Wow. Well, all right. How's the morning going? How was that drive down Dodge Street? Nice. Was it about 40 mile an hour?
Yeah, nice and slow. Good meditation. Just walked through a couple meetings this morning, so it's off to a good start.
Coach, you need a lot of meditation time when you work with DB? Is that what I'm picking up?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, I do want to know before we get to football, how do you respond? Do you respond well to being honked at?
To being what?
When people honk at you when you're not driving the speed limit down the expressway.
Oh no. Usually I don't even notice.
Shocker.
He's meditating. How's he going to notice people honking at him?
I just go and relax.
Yeah. Nice, relaxing personality. You just ooze it. How do you? You're kind of familiar with this a little bit. Is there comfort in knowing that you have kind of a set schedule that you like to do to get ready for these?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you kind of set up the week after you've done it a couple times. You kind of have a routine, and if you win, you definitely follow it and add some tweaks here and there. But usually you kind of keep the same schedule from the last one or two times you've been there, and kind of fit it to your team, and you just go with it. And it's a lot of fun planning it. It's an exciting time, and you just want to make sure you cover everything and leave no stone unturned.
Coach, how much of an advantage is it for you to have this experience with your team, but these specific guys, a lot of them have not been in this spot before? Like, how do you weigh kind of the advantage you've got with some institutional knowledge with the schedule or whatever, yet kind of breaking in some guys that haven't necessarily experienced it in this role yet?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with our whole culture is that we always want to do things one step at a time. And we always talk about it being the next game is always the most important game because it is the next game, and you want to be 1-0. So this to us is a big game, obviously, but it's just the most important game because it's the next one, and we take that philosophy all year round, whether it's practice, a meeting, fall camp, or the first game of the year. Is that our kids are just used to locking into the task at hand, and obviously you got to do a lot of coaching from all my coaches about just visualize what you're going to do, be prepared as much as you possibly can, and that takes away a lot of the stress. The more you're prepared for it and the more you visualize, the more you work at it. And then come Monday night, you go out and you enjoy it and you play as hard as you possibly can.
I'm just kind of used to it from being around you. I've never really asked you from a competitive standpoint, but obviously playing a football team that presents a ton of challenges, well coached, multi-dimensional, ton of weapons. You have to balance this respect for what they are, being an elite team, but then kind of instilling confidence and in your own guys to know that this is doable. How fine a line is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's you want to respect all opponents, obviously, and you want to fear none. And we talk about when we give our scouting report that they have talent, and they're confident, they have playmakers, and they're coached well and they execute. But so do we. And what we got to do is just make sure we take care of what we can control, and we focus on us as much as possible. But at the same time, you want to understand what they're doing and how they're going to attack you, and put your players in the best possible matchups to be successful. And then you let it fly, and you try to do the simple things like physicality and execution and playing fast and fearless. And usually everything just takes care of itself. But you got to be prepared on what they're going to do and put your players in great matchups to succeed. And our coaches do an excellent job of watching film and being prepared and putting in the time. So I have full confidence that we'll be ready with the execution wise. And I think our guys are experienced enough that they come to play. And we preach that starting in January, that no matter what we're doing, we just try to outwork and go as hard as we can, and usually good things happen.
A few extra gray hairs knowing that we were so young?
What's that?
I said, did you grow a few extra gray hairs knowing that we were so young?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see. All right. Good talk, Coach.
Coach, we appreciate the time. As always, good luck on Monday, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
See you soon.
Okay. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, Coach.
All right, buddy.
See you later.
That's head football coach Paul Limongi of Omaha Westside.
Dude.
Guy that DB is very familiar with. Matt Turman, the head coach at Omaha Skutt, also playing for a state championship, something he's quite familiar with. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Has anybody confused you guys with Mike Leach yet? The late great Mike Leach. It is now Matt Air Raid Turman.
Sometimes you just do what you have to do. So,
hey, you know what's funny though? You guys have thrown it around the yard before, so you're not totally uncomfortable. Is it kind of cool to watch this offense like just become that explosive?
it's been fun. Maybe not right up my alley all the time. So my brother's on staff, and this is right up his alley. That's for sure. So.
Coach, I know that you've obviously done a lot of this before and you've been very successful. The last few years, it's kind of been Bennington's show and everybody else was kind of just living in their world. Obviously, you guys broke their long winning streak earlier this season. How does the dynamics of kind of having that under your belt play into going into the championship?
I'm not sure that first game in this regular season has a whole lot of bearing, honestly. I think both teams have gotten used to being down in Lincoln. So I think this is our 8th final in the last 12 years or something like that. So, I mean, our coaches, our players, they kind of
generally speaking.
Well, I'm just saying, and we're not neither team's going to get there, I think, and just be awestruck by the moment or the stadium or playing on Tom Osborne Field. So, I'm sure they have something in the back of their mind that they're a little mad and disappointed that their streak ended. And so I don't know if there's a little revenge factor there, but I mean, if you're going that angle, we have the same thing with them beating us last year in the state championship game. So I think that part of the game, it's just going to be two good teams that are going to fight for a state title.
Yeah, I obviously being super familiar with both these teams, and we talk a ton about their defense, and they've got a thoroughbred at every level with Jansen and Bovee and Lordson and those guys. But I think quietly, and I said this Sunday after watching you guys, I like your linebacking pair of Gunther and Van Dyke. That's a really good quiet twosome. Do you think your defense gets a little overlooked because of how explosive your offense has been with the other Van Dyke?
Well, our defense has done a really nice job. We were one of the areas we were a little concerned about was the D line, and we've had some kids that have really stepped up playing up there. And I don't know if you would say there's any of the 5 stars in our defensive front line, but each one of them play really hard, and they do what they need to do, and they keep guys off of those 2 linebackers. And then those 2 linebackers can go and make plays. Particularly, Luke, he's by far our leading tackler. Just like his brother. Yeah, just like his brother runs our offense. He is definitely the quarterback of the defense, and so our defense kind of goes as he goes.
Coach, is there, I never coached football, but I coached basketball for a while, and I always wonder when you're kind of looking back on a season, maybe you haven't done this yet because you still got some business to take care of, but is there a special characteristic about this team that you've enjoyed coaching the most?
Just this group's competitiveness. It's fun in practice every day, and part of that's just driven by our seniors. And particularly those 2 Van Dykes I was talking about. They get after each other nonstop. You can tell they're twins, and neither of them likes to lose. Our defense, every practice we end with our team defense. We're in team defense. And our D coordinator, he shouts out 3 and out. We take a lot of pride in 3 and outs. And so the goal is that to get off the field and practice, we have to stop the opposing team, in 3 plays. And so now the scout team knows they're trying to get 10 yards, and the defense says we're not letting you get 10 yards. And that's how we end every practice. And Dylan Van Dyke, he takes control of that, particularly in that session. And he is all gung-ho about getting 10 yards against first team defense with the scout team. So, and that's like the most competitive part of the whole thing. And guys are hooting and hollering, and they're, we get a 5-yard gain with the scout team, and you would have thought we won the Super Bowl with the way that Dylan's chirping at his brother and stuff. So that part's really fun, and just the competitiveness of this group has been really something to behold, and it makes practices a lot of fun.
Dylan acts like he reminds me of, I have a huge affinity for him. He reminds me of the guy that he was born a couple seconds later, so he acts like the crazy younger brother. Who was born first?
Yeah. I don't actually know, but I'm going to find out.
Coach, we appreciate it as always. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, see you soon, buddy.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks.
That's Matt Turman, head coach of Omaha Skutt. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Coach, I just get the feeling like that's not going to get old, right? My partner doesn't understand how hard it is. He's like, playing for yet another. Like, you just roll out of the rack and you play for state champions.
No, I went to Miller North. I understand.
Oh, wow. Coach, you kind of, at least on the outside looking at, you have the perfect personality for this, because every time I see you, you're so even keeled and just buttoned up. Like this has to be kind of a cool stretch for you, where you get a chance to put your personality traits and what you believe in to the test, knowing that you have to keep your team in the moment, day after day, then week after week, game after game, until you can even get to this point. Like, that's a nice little blend, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's really awesome to just see everything that we preach and everything that we ask our kids to do come a full fold. And, just the success that they've had is all because they choose to do the right thing every day.
Coach, as you've kind of gone through this year, obviously it's been a little bit different than some of the past years because you actually had to deal with a loss. How did you as a coaching staff and the guys who really hadn't been through that process kind of react to that and respond to that?
Yeah, well, I guess it started immediately after the game, and when we met as a team, and I told the kids, I'm really excited right now because now I get to truly see if what we preach on a day-to-day basis is what you guys actually believe in. Are we going to come back with the idea that we have to get right back to work, or are we going to sulk about this? And so, what kind of mindset do we have? And our kids showed up the next morning to watch film and get better. So it was good to see.
Coach, there's that kind of old cliche, you learn more from a loss than a win. Like, did you find guys' ability, or I guess even willingness, to be sort of coachable and absorb what they needed to do to not have that feeling again? Did you see any change in that, having experienced something they hadn't yet?
Yeah, for sure. I thought our kids did a tremendous job at first admitting that we have weaknesses. Like we have spots where we have to get better at, and it's coming down to, are we going to make the choice in practice to do that? And so I was really impressed by how many seniors stood up and said, here's what I did wrong. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And we had a lot of guys who came and said, hey, Coach, this is what I know I need to get better at. How do I do it? And so I really commend our kids for having that humility to know that they didn't play their best game, or they have spots where they can improve. But they want to get better at it.
Coach, this is you coach. This is probably a little too simplistic, but we were talking on NEBPreps earlier this week, and I said the interesting thing to watch as I'm kind of preparing for this broadcast is Skutt has a little more big play ability, like can get it in a chunk, whereas you guys are so good defensively, it has to be earned. There were special teams scores galore the first time around. Have you kind of pinpointed where you want to be better, or what you think some of the differences may be the second time around?
Yeah, I think time of possession is one that I really focused on. If we look back, Skutt had the ball for a lot more, I felt, than we did, especially, in that last drive where they drove down to kick field goal. But even before that, where we kind of sputtered out on offense and couldn't get a drive going, and they could consistently go. And even if they didn't score where they had to punt, they were still taking a lot of time off the clock. And so I really think that needs to be reversed, where our offense needs to be consistent in terms of just driving and having the ball. And I think the biggest thing is when we have the ball in offense, that means that Mr. Van Dyke and Mr. Kallega don't have the ball in offense. So,
yeah. Coach, it's always interesting when the state championship is a rematch of a game that's already been played this year. How do you feel like you guys are different than you were the first time you played Skutt?
I think just in terms of running the ball, I think we have a little more confidence in what we're really good at.
Yeah.
That would be one. I think we've really leaned on that the last two games in the playoffs especially. And like I said, in terms of finding our weaknesses, it's good to know week 8 where that's at so we could make adjustments. We had to make adjustments quick playing Elkhorn North and following week. And so, yeah, I think just of where we are defensively from week 8 to now is different as well. So,
Coach, it was interesting the first time we talked to you, which didn't seem like that long ago. You kind of like the breakdown of the schedule because the district was so tough and it's highly, highly competitive. Do you feel like this is the payoff where you've gone kind of through the grind down the stretch, you get some familiarity with opponents, and now you just kind of get to settle in to do your thing? Is that closer to your wheelhouse, or would you rather kind of have something new and different?
I think it's really hard always playing a team twice, but with Class B being as small as it is, you're bound to do it at some point in time. So I think where that benefits you is now, how do you get creative enough, and how do you make sure that you don't do the same thing over? Because every coach is good in Class B, in my opinion, and they're going to game plan and try to stop how it happened the first time. So where do you find differences? Where do you come up with something new that maybe is a different wrinkle, or just something different that the coaches haven't seen that gives you an advantage that second time around?
Coach, as you get into the game, I always like to wonder the few things you'll be looking for as early indicators that your guys are kind of in the right place early to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I'd say making sure that we get that run game going right off the bat with the offense. Having Kyler be able to come over on the offensive side has been a big thing for us, and I'm assuming we'll continue to do that with him and Goots. That's kind of a nice 1-2 punch. But then on the defensive side, just making sure that we try to create as much fits as we can for, like I said, the Skutt offense, who's very talented. We have some things that we think they can help us, but at the end of the day, we have to execute those things. And so making sure that we get the run game going and try to execute those adjustments will be big.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch the last week and a half. We kind of took a step back. Padilla and Sautter and I, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, with Lordson carrying the ball 20 sometimes down the stretch is kind of a hammer. And you mentioned that combination. How I get it. Fantastic wrestler, tremendous elite physical fitness. There's never any drop off in his game. Is this kind of what you had planned all along, to kind of be able to have the hammer late with such a good player like him?
Yeah, I don't know if it was something that we had naturally planned. I really believe in our one side of the ball philosophy. But at the same time, when you have a kid as special as Kyler, and he has the ability to do things with minimal practice, and it can still be really efficient, I think it's crazy not to have it in, at least in when you need the opportunity like we had to have come last Friday with Elkhorn North, that you don't pull the trigger and go.
Is this? I hesitate just to ask the question. This is probably more for selfishly, Coach, for game prep. But you've got tremendous players on all three levels, right? I'm looking at Jansen and KL and Bovee, who's really underappreciated. Is it safe to say that Kyle is kind of the reason you guys can do what you do defensively, given his versatility? Even though you got a ton of good players, he totally seems like the anchor that you drop in the water when you want to steady that ship.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're able to do a lot of things differently than maybe I would do if Kyler wasn't in the game, just because we have that confidence that he can take care of his side. So no doubt about it. We definitely make adjustments knowing that he can do certain things that maybe other outside linebackers can't.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, full disclosure, because when we're trying to come up with guys to feature in the open, it's like, man, there's a lot of good guys. But I think you helped me land the plane, man. So I appreciate your authenticity, Coach. I really do.
Coach, I got to ask one last thing here for me before we get out of here. I know that you were in the semifinals, just kind of this meat grinder fist fight game with Elkhorn North. Do you like having that type of game and then, just a couple extra days off to get you ready for that state championship?
Yeah, if I'm being flat out honest, I want to win big every time. Those close games.
I love it. Finally, a coach that tells me the truth.
Yeah, those close games are a lot of fun, but I'm more. I'll take a big win every time. But do I think that it helped us? Oh, of course. Our kids had to make plays when the time matters. Everyone says that a game always comes down to 5 or 6 plays. You don't know which ones they are, but you got to make them when they happen. And I just think our kids did that. We had some big plays that went in our favor, and so knowing that our kids can make those big plays in big games just gives me that confidence that when we go to play one more big game, that they'll make them again.
Amazing communities, amazing staff, two good ones. It'll come to a head on Tuesday. I'm pumped, but not nearly as excited as I know you are, Coach. Wishing you the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for this. That's
Cam Lenhart, Bennington football head coach, and finally the first honest coach I've ever met.
He's great.
I want to win by 100. So, Mike, there's going to be a NEBPreps award show.
Yeah, a lot of people coming.
Wait, is it the second or the third?
It's third. Tuesday, December 3rd.
Robbie was building my calendar for me the other day.
I'm trying.
First Tuesday.
He's like, wait a minute, you can't do this and this. You're going to be here. And I was like, wait, I am?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's the night. Because we got to go back to Lawrenson.
We got our friends out there at Lawrenson.
Wait, what's their name again?
Lawrenson?
Lawrenson.
Thank you.
Lawrenson.
I don't know what you said.
There's a T.
I said Uruguay.
Not Kyler Lawrenson. There's difference.
We talked about him this morning with Cam.
Stud.
Yeah.
Absolute stud.
He's even better on film.
He's the absolute stud. Anyway, the Preps Award Show, let me get to that.
Yeah.
Why?
So
you act like this is your segment.
You
act like you're the 9 o'clock on Friday. Why does it have to be about you?
We're almost sold out. We have about 5-10 tickets left, maybe.
Hey,
10.
Are we eating? Can we order
food?
Okay.
Yeah, there's food.
Order food. Yeah.
It's a limited menu, like a game day menu, kind of condensed, because we're going to have a lot of people in here.
Yeah.
And because we're basically shutting down the whole bar.
Yeah.
Why didn't I just ask you?
She's the only one that knows anything.
Well, and she would have got to it a lot faster than he will.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
Sorry.
But we're going to, for the people that can't make it, because we only got about 5 tickets left, as you were saying, We're going to stream this thing on the internets.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole
It's
thing.
sold out, Damon.
It's sold out. We're shutting down the whole bar.
Sold out.
Shut down the whole bar. It's a big place.
Good story. I like it.
Player of the year,
awards.
Player of the year, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, special teams player of the year for all 7 classes from A to 6 man.
And big game chain.
And big game chain of the year, player of the year. whoever had the biggest game in the big game chain games that we covered.
Big game.
Yeah.
Back on the chain.
I have a good idea of who's going to win.
You have a good idea?
Yeah.
Wait, but
I'm just glad you finally took my advice and nominated my guy Cade Vermoss for a player of the year.
I'm sorry, but if you ask your compadre,
so I told him how people don't
Yako-
understand how hard. Like there was like serious knockdown discussions.
Yeah.
This isn't like some willy nilly.
No.
Pick a name out of a hat. Like
no, there was
there were some
of good
strong
this
debates that went on at this
We
table.
were yelling at each other.
I
at one
didn't
point.
yell.
I yelled.
You
at Jacob.
yelled. Yeah.
I mean, that's not unusual.
Then it's funny
It might
too
have been
because
about Vermoss.
because you know what? That started it.
Yeah.
Well, because the numbers aren't.
That
they don't
so
jump off
important
that-
to their team.
Listen, that started it.
Yeah.
Remember?
He was so
And-
important to
And
them.
that's why he's player of the year, not offensive or defensive,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause
And I
he's
wouldn't say
the
Jacob
two-way
was
guy.
anti. He just gave some other options statistically.
Yeah.
And Sautter was like, he's a two-way guy, and you got to be in there. And then Jacob was like, well, okay. And then Sautter, "Yeah, sorry."
yeah.
And Jacob just tried to keep the
Jacob
peace.
was Jacob.
Yes. He
And
tried to
Sautter
keep
was
the peace.
Sautter, and sparks fly.
And I wanted to look at I just want to look at Jacob sometimes. I'm like, you're a jerk to me. Why would you let him bully you? Like,
I don't bully him.
yes, you tried. I was very disappointed in your delivery. With
I
him.
try and bully him too. He doesn't let me.
I wanted to like shield him. I'm like, Jacob, if that was me, you'd have been like, dude, shut up. Sautter was like, well, I mean, what?
As long as my guy Cade Vermoss got his love, that's all that's important.
So Jacob will literally flip through how many pages of
too many.
statistics was he?
All the time.
A lot of
I mean,
notes.
he'd read.
He's got those notes.
Yeah. There's a lot.
So anyway, December 3rd.
December 3rd.
And you're going to stream it.
We're going to stream it. Yeah.
You know, I don't like to eat and work. So I'm not really working, though. I'm just kind of a spectator.
Oh, so you're just hanging out?
Yeah. I'm
Seeing your guy Tay
Yeah.
nominated.
We still got some decisions to make on some stuff there.
Is it
too.
like the minutia we were talking about?
Mhm.
I thought we left with figuring that out.
We still have some okay, this person from this team is definitely going to win, but which one? And then there's a reason why kids are nominated for 2 things. Put it that way.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to actual games.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
They're going to be there's some that they're going to be.
There's some
pretty
sensational
games.
matchups.
Class D1 game, 8-man 1 is going to be.
Yeah, we talked to both Kuta and we talked to Stoddard.
Yeah. Real good.
Very similar in their delivery.
Both teams
and some football junkies.
they're both led by rushing quarterbacks because 8-man.
Ethan,
that's mainly what you do. Yes,
Ethan and Wilkie.
Yeah, Ethan has.
Even Vers is excited. He has that game.
Mhm.
This dude, he's like, man, this game's going to be sensational.
Good. So Barrett has 2,624 rushing yards and 36 touchdowns.
It's a lot.
And Ethan has 1,510. Now, Sandy Creek throws it around a little bit more. So, I mean, Rimpey is very good for Sandy Creek. He leads them in every receiving statistical category. 35 catches, 792, and 13 touchdowns. He's also the team leader in total tackles with 110.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, an 8-man.
Small
But
class.
here's the thing. Stanton doesn't throw it very often. Sandy Creek has 27 total sacks as a team. That's a high number for 8-man. So, something's going to have to give there. We're just going to see quarterbacks just hammering that thing at each other. So, it's the game we wanted to see since the semifinals of last year of 2023.
it's kind of how I feel about Bennington and Skutt, too.
That's kind of how I feel about A too. I mean,
Yeah, people wanted to see
people wanted to see Millard South, Westside
year.
last year. They've wanted to see it all year this year. People wanted to see Bennington Skutt all year last year, all year this year. Like, it's kind of the year that everybody's getting the matchups they wanted.
Class B, that game, and it can't go the same game flow that it did the first time
because
right?
of the special teams.
Yeah,
stuff.
there's just no way.
Pretty
right?
wonky in some of those things.
There's no way. So I looked up this stuff. Well, it was, I guess, this morning before I went to bed. Van Dyke for Skutt. And this is wild.
Which one?
Quarterback.
Okay.
Dylan. So it's wild for Skutt if you think about their history of just running the veer and all that stuff. So Van Dyke needs 335 yards to tie the single-season Class B record that Jack Dotzler set of 3,421 yards. And then Christian Banker was the previous Class B single-season record holder for receiving yards at 1,276. Well, Joe Kaliga has right now, before one more game, 1,449.
He is dynamic.
He also has
really good.
Kaliga has 68 receptions, and Cade Reichert from Aurora in 2017 had 74. That's the single season record. And then Shane Orr has 17 receiving touchdowns in 2019 from Roncalli.
Yeah.
Joe Kaliga already has 19, so he's already broken that record.
That was the stretch where they had like 17 oars in a row.
Yeah, yes. yeah. There's going to be a little break, and then there'll be more, but like –
I remember back in the day, back when he was at Monroe before he went to Roncalli as an alum, I'm like, and his kids were just little. You had no idea. It's just fun to watch
them grow up.
They just grow up and people do the
so that
thing.
B game, and then we talked about Kyler Lortzen for Bennington, just how good he is. He is 3 tackles for loss away from getting double-digit tackles for loss. He's at 100 total tackles now, and that would be 3 years in a row that he has 100 total tackles and double-digit tackles for loss, which is pretty remarkable. So it's going to be strength versus strength. Like Bennington's defense is the strength, and then Skutt's offense has been pretty powerful. So especially those two guys, and Van Dyke's been able to run around a little bit more too. So
it'd be so nice to be able to do those broadcasts in a good mood. Like this is going to really, it's going to really test my professionalism.
See, that's what I've been trying to prepare you for.
Larry's going to be like, man, DB, you're usually better at this. What's wrong with you?
I've been trying to prepare you by testing your professionalism every day.
Were you not here last night? He's great.
So
speaking of Class A,
let's talk Class A for a second.
Jet Tamala,
pretty good.
Yeah, quarterback. This is how prolific that offense has been. Noah Walters, remember him?
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty good in 2021
from
Lincoln East.
Yep.
He set the single-season Class A record of 3,402 yards passing. Jet Tamala has 3,444, already past that, and still has a game to go. Jet Tamala has 230 completions on the year. And Alec De Toro, remember him? 2012, Papio?
Yeah.
The Class A record for completions in a season is 243, so he's 13 away from tying that. He's been crazy good like this year.
Safe to say that's in jeopardy. He had 13 against us last year on a bad night.
I was saying terrible wind and rain.
There would need to be something crazy happen.
I'm sick of hearing you say that too. So you can knock that off.
Tate Jenkins would have to really the Westside offense. This is my formula, I guess, for winning, if you will.
Oh, go ahead then, Coach Sautter.
Not seeing all the film that you guys get and not being on a coaching staff, but I think Tate probably needs to run the ball a lot. Ground game's going to have to work a lot, or you're patient. You're very patient. Go back to Gretna when you guys were in that state championship game and won, and Caleb had 13 catches, and there was a lot of them that were 7-yard outs.
We have 4 good
that's what I mean.
You have to keep them honest.
Yes, and you have to just be patient with it. You don't have to take shots all the time. Like, just be patient, moving the ball down the field. Keep that offense off the field.
So you've been pretty much all year to the joke that DB made. Is that you've said pretty much all year something crazy would have to happen for.
He's not alone.
I get it, but I'm he's the only one I'm talking to. That something crazy would have to happen. Something crazy would have to happen for Millard South to lose.
Right.
Do you still feel that way?
I think it could be a little closer than we think. Now, injuries in that game, there's some major injury concern of if kids can play and if they can, and they're very key players for them, for both teams. That may matter a lot in this game, and it's something that is.
Well, we won't know.
Yeah, we won't know
until
Monday
yeah.
if kids can go or not. So, one is.
I wonder one thing, because you talk too much, so you're going to say things I don't want you to say. Something.
I wasn't going to say names.
So I mean, it's not that people don't know. It's just not. I mean, it's,
right.
We'll just move on. One thing that would really help me. I wonder who makes the line calls for Millard South. Is it Coach Wisdom or is it like an offensive lineman? Because they do a
their offensive line is really
good job of getting into the right play, right? Because we've seen, we're super nerds. So you like chart affected pressures, dropping 6, whatever. Like their communication appears to be at a high level. I don't know if that's I mean, it might be Glab because I think he's
Glab, he's their O-line coach.
Man in the middle too. No, I'm talking about
Carter. Yeah. He's had a great year.
Dude, who you telling?
Yeah, like he's been really good. He's been really good. And that's something that I think might be a key too is getting pressure on Tamala up the middle instead of from the outside.
It's the whole thing, man. Like
right.
It's been. I'm glad we had a couple of days, but you have to. You're not gonna get it all. You got to pick something.
Yeah.
Hey, remember,
like, what are you okay with giving up? That's what we always talk about, right? What's the thing you're okay with sacrificing?
Also, a guy that has helped them out on the offensive line is DJ Gross. Remember him from Cook? He's their assistant offensive line coach too. So good to see DJ out there. He had obviously his dad was a pretty good coach for Cook. So
it starts with 55 though, like you can tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
clearly.
And their offensive line's been great, and Amir Hill is that kind of difference maker guy that you got to account for everywhere.
He's by far, I think the biggest. You make a mistake at 6.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, 100%.
Like Lofton can run, but usually he's already down the field.
Yeah,
one doesn't need much.
No. And they'll use him. He's had some carries.
He doesn't need much. Yeah, I've seen him crease some guys after the catch where it's like you go back and you replay it and you're like looking at angles and stuff like that.
And you're like, I think he had the right angle.
I'm like, that guy's pretty fast.
And in the punt return game, they can use him too. Return game stuff. So
we have got to find a way to win special teams.
Yeah, might be tough. Well, Keenan's pretty good at special teams.
Man.
If they punt or kick it to Keenan.
Should we bother showing up?
If they punt or kick it to Keenan, then
you don't want to kick it to Keenan.
Are you buying it? Are you
no?
Like, are you listening to this?
I'm not saying. I just said I think it probably will be a little closer than most people maybe think.
Yeah, that's because you got a ways to come down from 21.
I didn't say 21.
Yes,
I've never said 21.
Yes, you did.
I've never.
You said 3 scores.
In June?
3 scores.
A long time ago. I will stand on my thing that I've said all year since June was Millard South is the most talented team. I think they're the number 1 team. I think they're the best team. Like I've said that all year. And that's not a knock on anybody. They just are really good. Yeah. Like they're hard to stop.
And I agree.
So,
so you've said the same thing.
I know.
Yeah. Braylon's going to have to be really good. Like Braylon Warren's going to have to be really good. That's a fun kind of quarterback matchup because both those guys are, in my opinion, pretty darn good quarterbacks and high-level ones at that. So we haven't had that since, I guess, Rizak and Zane. That was a couple of years ago.
So I've got Central City and Wahoo. You like the fact that Central City has enough versatility offensively, running the ball with Kais and
they have a run game which absolutely helps. That's totally different.
Wahoo is really good defensively.
Yeah, for a team that wants to throw it around in Central City, well, Wahoo has 15 interceptions on the year too. So they've given up, I think it was 80 points all year, if I'm correct, which I can look real fast. But Wahoo's defense is fantastic. But yes, they've given up 80 points and they've scored 633.
That's pretty good.
Their
Shane,
kicker,
do we have Coach? You said it's going to voicemail. He might be in the building.
Their kicker
might be actually working.
Yeah.
This is how much Wahoo's offense.
Trying to track him down.
This is how much Wahoo's offense has been just scoring touchdowns. Their field goal kicker is 1 for 1 with a long of 26 on the year.
Yeah, scoring some touchdowns.
He's 58 of 64 on point after attempts.
Well, every time you
and
roll,
that's not there.
Every time you roll tape, like Brigham's gone for
Brigham
like 60.
He's awesome. He's 1,900 yards.
I think he's better
already.
at football or basketball.
Ooh, he's pretty good at football. He's a pretty good basketball player too.
Which was kind of why I asked the question.
He's a pretty good football player.
Yeah,
he makes so many plays. He can go up and get a ball. I mean, I was there last week and he just popped one. Now, one thing with Wahoo, they like to go left with him. So they really do if you watch it. He popped one for like 60-some yards for a touchdown, and then two series later, they throw like a 25-yard touchdown to him. He just goes up and mosses 2 dudes, or jumps over them to get it.
Should be some big crowds this week.
I would think.
Monday, Tuesday,
right?
The
whole city of Wahoo is going to be shut down on Tuesday.
And you have to go through Wahoo to get to Central City.
Yeah. So Central City.
I take that way.
Yeah, you go 92.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You've
never been there?
I'm not going out to Central City a lot.
You go through.
It's
You
not
ever
on
been to
my-
Wahoo?
Yeah, I've been to Wahoo a bunch.
Okay. You take that same highway and you just keep going.
Yeah, I've been to Wahoo a bunch.
Yeah. Then you go through East Brainerd and then Shelby Rising
And the
City.
the place that makes your cheese. JISA. Yeah.
JISA.
Who makes my cheese?
It's like a little stop.
Oh,
I'm like, hey, those are in the grocery stores locally. I think it's pronounced Chisa. Chisa.
I don't know.
It's very popular.
A guy for Wahoo to really, and they can use him on both ways. They have so many athletes, like they use him both ways. Caden Smart had a huge game against Auburn in the semifinal, and he's had a nice year too. Harrison Krieger is another dude that has 2 sacks and 2 interceptions, a block kick. He leads them with 92 total tackles. But one guy is Eli Shada, and if you want to look for like recruiting stuff for next year, that might be a name to keep an eye on. Yes, that is Shada's son. So,
yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And Braylon Iverson, their middle backers, very vocal.
How is he old enough?
Yeah,
that's 03.
Wait, that's Adam's son?
Yeah.
Or Alex? Which one? There's 2 different Shadas.
Is Alex older? Because that would make a little.
They're not. It's not the same.
Okay, I would
Different.
say because Adam Shader he's a year older than me. That'd be
Alex.
Okay, that makes
okay.
more sense.
Yeah, I know Alex really well.
Yeah.
Which would make more
Does
sense.
the coach comp stuff.
Yeah, which would make more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Another good dude.
Yeah.
So Wahoo's very good, obviously, and talented, but the Central City game is that offense, their ability to run the ball has been awesome.
Yeah, I
and
think-
Parker Zeekman's had a huge year too.
Yeah, Kai's has been really good for them in the backfield too.
It's just a matter of like, can they keep up, like scoring wise, because Wahoo's gonna put up points. I think, they're too good. So can Central City somehow figure out that defense? Because it's been fantastic.
Yeah,
I've said it a couple times this year, like Bennington and Wahoo playing each other would be awesome because their defenses are so good.
They're built similarly. Shane,
Yeah.
are we going to have to pass on the segment?
on coach.
Yeah, he's going to have to redo it and do it on Monday.
Okay.
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 All right. Fine.
So yeah, I mean, back to the Central City stuff is they don't really. Well, I guess they have a bunch of sacks if you look at it. Damian Malachias has 6. Ryan Turman leads them with 6 interceptions. So they don't have a guy that pops as far as total tackles are concerned, but they've also scored 531 points this year. So it's pretty good.
yeah, they can definitely score.
Their total they have 5,000 total yards of offense. So could be some points in that one if Central City can keep up.
Mike, is there a game? I know we talked about a lot of really good matchups. Is there one that you are looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I mean, outside the A1 is for obvious reasons. Sure. But I look at that 8-man 1 game I'm excited about. The 8-man 2 game will be good too. That's offense. That's a very prolific offense versus a defense that hasn't given up squat all year. Squat, not squat. So, and they met in week 1. Central Valley won 50-42. And that's the most points that Central Valley has given up all year, was that 42 to Riverside in week 2-1.
We do have some rematches.
Yeah.
Burrs was trying to get out there. They hadn't gotten back to him yet. He wanted to go out to Riverside.
A lot of rematches in the state championship.